Hello everyone and welcome back to Nate the Hoof Guy. Today's video we are going to do what many of you lately have been requesting. That's right, we're going to go back and take a look at one of our previous trims and see how she's doing. Now the initial trim I posted a couple of weeks ago. In that video I was explaining how I became a hoof trimmer and steps that you could take if you wanted to be a hoof trimmer as well. But the cow in question, well, she had a white line issue that we worked through. We had a false sole, a couple of them actually, that we had to take care of. And then we cleaned it all up as we usually do and wrapped her with salicylic acid. And now we're back 3 weeks after that initial trim to do a little follow-up. Now another question I get quite frequently is, why don't we ever get to see you take the wraps off? And that's because I'm not the one that does that. So when I put a wrap on a cow's foot, it only stays on for a couple of days, and then it's the farmer's responsibility, if it doesn't fall off on its own, to remove those wraps. Why don't I do it? Because typically I'm not back to these farms in that amount of time to take these off. If I were, I would take them off. But most of my farms I only visit on once a month up to once every 6-8 weeks. It all depends on the size of the farm and how many cows they have to trim. So as I mentioned, the farmer takes these wraps off. The blocks, that's my job. Farmer can't take those off. So when it's time, that's my job if they haven't fallen off. As we can see here, this hoof is healed up quite nicely. There's all new sole right where that area of digital dermatitis was on that corium. It's all healed up now. My job here is just to try to clean this away, make sure that there's not any pockets of that dermatitis left on there, that it's going to impede this healing. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm not removing a lot of material, and I don't want to thin this sole down anymore because it's just starting to grow back and get to the thickness that we want. Now, after 3 weeks, it's not going to be thick enough to bear weight, so I don't want to remove too much of this. If I wanted this perfectly white, I could do that by just keep removing more, but I don't want to do that because this sole is not thick enough as it is. Now, another thing to check here is the white line. We want to make sure that that's intact. That the white line is the junction between that outside wall and that sole. Sometimes we can get some erosion there that'll want to work its way up that outside wall. So we got to make sure that that's clean. Then we're going to move ahead here and we're going to take a look. We do a little past shot of that foot and what it looks like now. Now because this block is still positioned correctly, I don't have to worry about replacing it. It can stay on for a couple more weeks. Here you can get a good look of that sole. And even though it's not firm enough yet to bear weight, it is making good progress. So here's what that claw looked like 3 weeks ago, and here it is now today after our treatment. Quite the improvement.